Welcome everyone to today's tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create a fairly simple fidget spinner body design that we want to 3D print and create an actual real-life fidget spinner with. We're going to use SketchUp today. I've created a similar video using Fusion 360, but I'm going to show you how to create this in SketchUp. We won't be able to do as much with SketchUp as we can in Fusion 360, especially when it comes to, I just find that it's a little bit more challenging when it comes to kind of rounding off sharp edges, for example, in SketchUp versus other software. But we can still create a pretty good design. And so here's an example here of what I'm talking about. We're going to recreate this here. Now, to get things started, you need to look at how large to make this fidget spinner. And so I have a drawing that's put up, and here it is. It's up on my D2L site, and here it is in front of us. We're going to be referencing these dimensions throughout the video, so I'll be going back and forth here, just seeing how large some of the sizes are, how things are spaced apart, and whatnot. All right, so let's start. Anytime you're designing something, you need to look at it and say, okay, where should I start here? You almost want to plan out, almost like a game plan before you start drawing, right? Because sometimes you might find that you could get stuck if you started in the wrong spot, or you tried to do, if you tried something off the beginning, right from the beginning, that it just doesn't work out great because you should have done something else beforehand. So you always want to kind of plan things out, take some time, take 10, 15 minutes to think, okay, I know how to use the software, but now how can I put to use what I know and actually sketch and model this fidget spinner here? So I would say that what we're going to start with is a 2D sketch, obviously. To start, I'm going to do this center circle where our bearing is going to be installed. So I'm going to do just a flat circle, and then I'll probably offset this outside circle as well. You can see that this is kind of like an area that kind of sticks out of the main body here. So I'm going to create the first circle, then offset the second circle. And then I've got to think of a way to do our weights that go around the fidget spinner. These are going to be hex nuts that we're going to use, that we're going to install into our fidget spinners once we 3D print them. And so I need to figure out how I'm going to equally space these three weights that I'm going to place around my fidget spinner. Because remember, your spinner is only going to spin well if everything is balanced and the weight is equally distributed, across the entire shape. And so we need to make sure, like, we can't put, we can't put these spaced apart differently, is what I'm saying, right? There's an angle here that each of them is away from each other. And I can tell you that that angle, you can calculate that by knowing that going around a full circle is 360 degrees, right? And so I have three spots that I want to place around that 360 degrees, equally place them. So I would do 360 degrees divided by 3. So that means that each one of these is 120 degrees apart, right? Because you can't make one 120 degrees apart from another and then another, with a larger angle, right? This needs to remain balanced if it's going to spin well. So I'm going to start with the circle, offset this inner circle to the outside there, this 3 millimeter. And then I'm going to start drawing maybe some construction lines on where to place or some construction lines that go to the center of these hex nuts so that I know where to place those hex nuts, right? And I know that those construction lines will need to be 120 degrees apart. Once I've done that, there's a tool in SketchUp that easily draws this hexagon here. Okay, so very quickly I will be able to draw these hexagons, and then I can offset these hexagons another 3 millimeters to get the outside hexagonal shape, right? And then all I'm using then is just some arcs to connect my three sides there, okay? And then obviously we're going to be push-pulling. Now this drawing was created in Fusion 360, so you could see that I've made some fillets here that we're just not gonna, I'm not gonna show you how to do in SketchUp. It is possible, but for our purpose and our 3D printers, probably not going to be able to do, such fine fillets anyway. So it's not a big deal that we don't have these rounded corners here. Okay, so that's going to be the game plan. All right, like I said, anytime you're going to design something, you want to sit and take some time to think about how you're going to approach it. You don't just want to dive right in. You want to make sense of it. So it looks like our first diameter of our inner circle here is at 22.05. Okay, so let's keep that in mind, and let's go into SketchUp. And first thing is I'm going to switch to a top view. I want to look at it from the top down. So I'm just going to go to this button right here. Okay, my little display button there. Sorry, my scenes button there, and that's where you'll see that you can toggle between different views. So I'm going to choose this top view. That's the top view right there. So I'm going to click on that, and this way I can see this from above. I'm just going to pan over using my pan tool, H on your keyboard, and actually go back to my select tool. I'm actually going to get rid of the little person that's there. And so I should be good to go. Now I'm probably going to need to zoom in. The fidget spinner is obviously quite small, so I'll probably need to zoom in a bit, but let's just start with drawing a circle, C on your keyboard, and I'm going to draw it anywhere right now. Notice that as of now, and actually let's get rid of that. As of now, there's a couple things. Is in my drawing, I'm giving the diameter, whereas you can see that this is going to be this is looking for the radius, right? So if 22.05 is my diameter, then that means that 11.025 is my radius. So look at the bottom right corner, and you can see, look how small that is, right? So we're just going to zoom into that spot there and make that look larger for us. One thing I don't like about this is that you can kind of see the segments that make up this circle. That's one of the things that SketchUp does, that it doesn't actually create circles. It actually just creates different sized or different polygons, essentially. It actually doesn't do smooth curves. But we can kind of work around that. If you select, so switching to our select tool, if you select the outside shape there and you click on Entity Info, the first button here, you can see here that it says number of segments is 24. I'm going to just bring that right up. Let's go with like 75, and you'll see it. You'll see my circle straighten right out. Instead of having 24 little line segments here, there's going to be 75, which gives it the appearance that it's a circle, right? And not just some, a 24-sided polygon, for example. So that looks much better, right? So let's put that away. And let's go ahead and offset this shape 3 millimeters according to this drawing. The outside circle is 3 millimeters away right there. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to press F on my keyboard for offset. Come into my shape here, click, and then just drag my mouse. Okay, click inside the shape and drag my mouse, and then just type 3 and hit enter. Okay, excellent. Back to spacebar there, my select tool. I don't need this inside shape anymore, so I can just select it. Don't select the outside shape. Select the surface itself and hit delete on your keyboard, and that will be gone. And so we've got the first part of this kind of done here, right? Our bearing is going to get installed there. All right, so I'm just going to straighten this in the middle of my screen. Let's go ahead now and see if we can locate where we want to place these weights, right? These hex nuts, 120 degrees apart. And if I look here, here's a dimension from the center of my circle to the center of the hex nut. I'm 32 millimeters away. All right, so let's keep that dimension in mind. I'm 32 millimeters away. So if I use, let's see here, my tape measure tool, and I measure from, and actually, we may need to put the circle back in there. Let's go back to our tape measure tool. let's get the center of this circle. Let's make sure that we snap to the center of the circle. So let's just draw some lines that we'll delete in a second. We want this line to go straight down. We may need to zoom in to get it to go straight down there. You want it to be green. That's good enough. And then we also want that to come across there. We just want the center here, right? That's all we're looking for. So we just need to come across and get this point right here. All right, because one of the things with SketchUp, it doesn't snap nicely to the center of the circle there, which is unfortunate. But there's ways around it, right? And we'll delete those lines in a second. But let's see now if we can draw some construction lines that are 120 degrees apart. So I'm going to go to this tool here. It's in my tape measure menu. I'm going to go to my protractor and I'm going to click once in the center. Now click again going straight up. Okay. And then type 120. Excellent. There's our first line, right? There's our first line. Then from this line now, I'm going to do another 120, or I can just do 120 coming from here, going straight up, click twice, and then go this way. Sorry, let's not do that. Let's go click here once, then click along this line twice, and now move your mouse in the direction you want to go and type 120. Okay, so that's going to work out pretty good for us. And then once again, let's draw the line going up and down this way now. So let's click once here, click a second time on this line, and then drag this way and type 120. Okay, so I'm going to have one hex nut go up here, another one go over here, and another one go over here. Okay, and again, if I look at my drawing, I'm center to center, I'm 32 millimeters away. So why don't I draw a temporary line? Again, I don't need this line. I can actually erase these lines now. Let's just get rid of them. Type E on your keyboard. Don't need those. And let's type L on our keyboard for line. I'm going to draw a line, a temporary line that goes 32. So I just click once, drag straight up. That goes 32 in the bottom right corner there, millimeters away. Then hit escape, do one along our other construction line, 32 millimeters. And then hit escape, one more time, 32 millimeters. All right, those are going to be temporary lines for us, but they just locate where our hex nuts are going to be. All right, so that will just make life a lot easier for us. So let's find where this this hex nut button is, or this tool that we're going to use. Okay, so let's take a look here inside our shape tool. Here you'll see a polygon tool here that we can use, and by default it should come up as a hex shape. So let's click on it and click here. You can see it nicely snaps to the center, and then we're just going to make it, let's see how big we need to make that actually. I forgot to look. So you can see from the top here to here, we're 21.75. 21.75, okay? So remember that number. Now, the thing is here, if you look at the bottom right corner, it says radius. It's looking for a radius, right? So what we need to do is grab our calculator, because in our drawing it was the full distance, not the radius. So we need to take our, sorry, what was that number again? 21.75. Okay. So 21.75, and we're going to divide that by 2, of course, right? So that's 10.875 should be our radius. And there you have it. Okay. Then we're going to come here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to type 10.875. And then here as well. Don't rotate one. Okay, be careful here. They all have to be placed in the same orientation. Don't see how these ones have points. The other two that I drew had the points on the top and bottom. don't draw this one this way. Make sure that they also have points on the top and bottom, or again, it's just not going to stay balanced for you. Okay, perfect. And so I am now good to delete these lines. Don't need that anymore. So we're just going to go around and clean this up a bit. These were just temporary construction lines for us. There you go. So you can see this starting to come together now. Let's offset 3 millimeters, okay, this hexagonal shape. So I'm going to press F on my keyboard, come inside my shape, and bring your mouse outside the shape so SketchUp knows you want to do a 3 millimeter offset to the outside, and type 3. Do the same thing here. And there you have it. You can see that we're getting pretty close here. All we need to do now is really draw our arcs and then start push-pulling things up and down. So I don't need this inside shape anymore, so I can click on it and hit delete, 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 and delete. All right? Okay, let's see how to do these arcs. So I'm going to come to my arc tool, and I'm just going to do that first option here, okay, that says arc. And let's actually go with the 2-point arc. Let's go with this one here, the second one. So I'm going to click on this corner here, click my second corner, and then I'm just going to move however I want this to be. Okay, so let's go with, this is going to come up, this is going to be up to you on how you want your design to look. I'm probably going to just make it snap there to 3 millimeters. You can see the bottom right corner says 3, so I'm going to just type 3 and okay, and there you have it. And just make sure that if there's anything, like if you want to click on it and increase the number of segments, like if you see that there's a lot of, it doesn't look very rounded, just click on that arc, go to Entity Info, and you can increase the segments from 12, I don't know, let's go to 48, okay, and it'll just make a smoother arc for you. Okay, and then we're going to go around and we're going to do that to all 3 sides. So let's choose the arc tool again, connect here to here, and that's also going to be 3. And then lastly, from here to here, type 3. For whatever reason, it does not want to stay there. There you go. And you'll see that if you did it correctly, your shape should close, okay? And you should see the inside of your shape go white, all right? That's a good thing. So we're almost done here, everyone. We've got the basic design down, but it's, as we can see, it's only a 2D representation right now. So we obviously need to use our push-pull tool. Let's take a look at some thicknesses here. And there's something important that I need to show you. Just give me a sec. So it looks like we are approximately 7 millimeters for that center part that's going to house our bearing. It looks like it's about 7 millimeters thick. We've got the outside that's 9 millimeters thick. All right, and this is going to be up to your design. All right, but let's see what we can mess around with and see what we get. So I'm going to press push-pull right now, okay? Now, this is important. You need to pay attention to this. Watch what happens when I push-pull like this. Watch what happens when I orbit to the bottom. Look what happens. It actually hollows out what I just wanted to push-pull. I don't want it to do that. So there's a way around that in SketchUp. Sometimes that's useful. In this case, it's not. So what you do is after you press P for push-pull, right? If you're on a PC, tap Control once. If you're on a Mac, tap Alt-Option once. And you'll see that plus sign pop up. Now watch what happens when I bring this up 9 millimeters. So I'm just going to bring it up a little, let go of my mouse, and type 9 in the bottom right corner. Okay, now watch what happens when I orbit around. you can see that it did not hollow out the part. And that's what I want. So we're going to go around here, push pull. Notice the plus sign is already there, so it remembers it. If I want to remove it, I can just press Alt Option again, or if you're on a PC, press Control again. But I want to keep it on. And so I'm going to bring this up 9 again, bring this up 9, okay? And I'm going to bring this up next. I'm actually going to bring this up the full 9 millimeters, and then I'll adjust it later on, okay? So I'm going to bring everything up to 9 millimeters right now. There you go. But that's clearly not what I want. I just wanted to bring, I could have brought it all up at once if I selected everything at once, but I wanted to show you just separately. And then just make sure if you orbit around, go to the bottom, make sure that nothing is gone, that everything is still there, right? Okay, now we can just easily fix kind of these recessed parts that we want. So this whole middle part I'm going to recess down. So I'm going to make it skinnier, like the body of this skinnier. So I'm just going to come here, I'm going to press push pull again. And I don't need that plus sign anymore actually. So I'm going to remove it by pressing Alt Option again or press Control on your PC. And I'm just going to drag this down. And you can probably look at the bottom right corner. So it's saying 3 millimeters. I'm going to bring it down maybe 2 millimeters on that side. And then bring it down, again, push pull, 2 millimeters on this side. You can see the bottom right corner says 2 millimeters. We'll see how that ends up looking. And then this here, I'm going to push pull down 1 millimeter and orbit around and push pull this side down 1 millimeter. And you know, if you're happy with your design, then you can keep it like that. Maybe you want to make this body skinnier. You know, there's different designs. I'll leave that up to you on what you want to do. I just wanted to show you a very basic design for your fidget spinner. You can choose to make something like this, okay? Or you can go, I mean, obviously I encourage you to make your own design and be creative. You know, you don't have to, you could do like, for example, a hexagon in the middle here, but maybe you do like a circle over here, right? That you can, you know, so that it's kind of rounded on the outside, even though that there's still a hexagonal shape on the inside. You could do like a rounded, you know, I'll leave it up to you how you want to do it, okay? But the critical dimensions have to stay. You have to have a hexagon here for the weights that is this exact size, and you have to have an opening in the middle for the bearing, because obviously those are things where we're going to be fitting the bearing and the nuts around the fidget spinner, so you can't go off and just do your own size for that. Like those are important, and those have to stay. Your distance from the center of the circle to the center of the hexagon, I can be a little bit flexible with, but remember, when you're spinning it in your hand, you can't have the fidget spinner be too big, right? So 32 millimeters is a nice size for it. I played around with it and saw that 32 worked pretty good. If you want to veer from the 32 a little bit, you can, but just remember, so you can go smaller, but remember that, you know, if you go too big, then you're not going to be able to spin it between your, you know, your middle finger and your thumb, right? It's going to be hitting your hand. So keep that in mind. All right, so once you're done, you can have some fun with it and just put like a color on it of some sort. So that's definitely doable. Okay, so we can place a material, okay, and you can grab a color, right, and then just go around and kind of paint it all one color, okay? All right, so you can take your time to do that. But remember, our 3D printer is not going to be able to interpret this SketchUp file, right? So make sure you save your work so you have the SKP file saved. But when you're all done, what you're going to do is go to the 3-line menu there, and you want to go to Download STL file. So STL is a 3D print file. So it is going to download an STL file for you, which will be read by my 3D printing software. So that we can 3D print it. So please make sure that you save your work first, right? Make sure you're saved, and you go ahead and you download not a PNG, okay? I can't stress this enough. Don't make that mistake. Not a PNG. We're downloading an STL file. All right? So that concludes this video of this basic fidget spinner design. You can go ahead and kind of get creative. If you want to design this first to kind of get the hang of it, go for it, and then go ahead and get creative and design your own.